The Woosh Sisters and the Midnight Mirror Conspiracy Chapter 1, The Sinister Yard Sale of Doom. It was 7 a.m. on a Saturday when the unthinkable happened. Donkey Man put up a sign that read, "Midnight Yard Sale, everything must go, especially your preconceptions." Sarah Woosh, who'd been awake since 4 a.m, documenting suspicious bird patterns through her clay-caked window. The clay, now so thick it was essentially an earthen porthole, nearly choked on her generic brand cereal. "Sue! Emergency! He's selling preconceptions at midnight! That's witch hour! He's trafficking in thoughts!" Sue rushed over. Her aluminum tinfoil tiara, currently shaped like a failed attempt at origami crossed with a satellite dish after yesterday's protective readjustment, quivering with indignation. "Midnight yard sale? That's code, Sarah. I read about this in The Princess and Snow Pea Brain, Chapter 7. It's how they recruit people into underground comedy cults. Whoosh! The concept of satirical advertising sailed over their heads with such force their tiaras spontaneously reshaped into what could only be described as aluminum interpretations of confusion and having an anxiety attack. From his superhero diaper command post on Jabba the Pizza Hut's shoulder, Modelo observed, "Honey, isn't midnight a weird time for a yard sale?" Jabba, eating her breakfast pizza, grinned. "It's Donkey Man, it's probably performance art. Past the ranch." "No relation to me," Modelo grunted, clutching his morning beer defensively. Chapter 2, The Gathering Storm of Stupidity. By noon, Donkey Man had transformed his front yard into what he called the Museum of Misunderstanding. He'd arranged mirrors at various angles, each labelled with signs like "Reflection of Society's Fears" and "Your Ego," actual size, next to a hand mirror and "The Void Between Your Ears," pointing at empty space. His 3 diva dogs sat perfectly positioned, Ashy wearing a beret and holding a paintbrush in her mouth, Trashy with fake glasses and a pipe, and Classy in a turtleneck that cost more than the Woosh Sisters' monthly aluminum foil budget. "Tonight," Donkey Man announced to his gathering crowd of local artists, hipsters and confused tourists, "we don't just sell items, we sell the concept of selling. We auction our prejudices. We garage sale our narrow-mindedness. Starting at midnight, because nothing good ever happens at reasonable hours." The crowd laughed appreciatively. Several people were already taking selfies with the mirrors. Inside Fortress Woosh, panic reigned supreme. "He's built a mirror maze!" Sue shrieked, binoculars pressed so hard against the window they left permanent circles around her eyes. "It's hypnosis, Sarah. Mass hypnosis. And the dogs are dressed as intellectuals." Sarah was furiously cross-referencing her conspiracy blogs. "It says here that mirrors at angles can open portals to the dimension of reason. We can't let that happen. Our Stegosaurus ancestors didn't evolve brain spikes for nothing." Whoosh! The concept of evolution, satire, and basic logic performed a triple Lutz over their heads. Their tiaras morphed into shapes that defied both description and dignity. Chapter 3, The Pre-Midnight Madness. By 11 p.m, Idiot Road was buzzing. Donkey Man had set up string lights that spelled out "Wake Up Sheeple" in Comic Sans font, the most offensive font, he'd explained, for the most offensive phrase. A local band called The Cognitive Dissonance was setting up, and someone had brought a fog machine. The Woosh Sisters had not slept. They'd spent the entire day gathering evidence, which consisted of 247 blurry photos of mirrors reflecting other mirrors, 73 pages of notes including gems like "Dog in turtleneck equals Swiss conspiracy," 18 calls to various authorities, all of whom had stopped answering, 1 pizza delivery they'd rejected because the delivery guy looked too happy, suspicious. "It's almost midnight," Sarah announced, having applied a fresh layer of aluminum to her tiara, now resembling a distress signal from space. "The cult gathering begins soon." Sue nodded, clutching her notebook titled "Evidence of Everything Wrong with Everyone Except Us." "Should we go outside?" They looked at each other. They hadn't voluntarily left after dark in 3 years. "We must!" Sarah declared. "For the neighbourhood, for decency, for our favourite book, The Princess and the Snow Pea Brain." Chapter 4, The Midnight Intervention Disaster. At 11:58 p.m, the Woosh Sisters emerged, wearing their full protective gear. Tin-foil tiaras freshly reshaped by incomprehension, rubber gloves for germ protection and rain ponchos for mind spray defence despite the clear night. The yard sale was in full swing. Donkey Man stood on a makeshift stage, actually just a pallet with Christmas lights, auctioning off abstract concepts. "Next up," he announced, "one slightly used misconception about modern art. Starting bid, your dignity." The crowd roared with laughter. Someone bid, "My mother's expectations." The sisters watched in horror as Ashy, Trashy and Classy performed a synchronized dance routine to Who Let the Dogs Out, but with intellectual commentary between barks. "Cultist!" Sarah screamed, rushing forward. "Stop this midnight madness!" The music screeched to a halt. Everyone turned to stare at two middle-aged women in tinfoil tiaras and rain ponchos on a clear night. 3 seconds passed. The sisters, remembering their social protocol, attempted their fake laugh. The sound, imagine a geriatric walrus gargling corn dogs mixed with cobblestones while having an existential crisis, caused every dog in a 5-mile radius to begin howling at the moon. Car alarms went off. A cat fell off the fence. Modelo, watching from his shoulder perch, dropped his beer again. "My God," someone in the crowd whispered. "It's like the mating call of sadness itself." Chapter 5, The Mirror of Truth, violently rejected. Donkey Man, ever the professional, incorporated their interruption into his act. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have volunteers for our next auction item. Self-awareness. Current bid, 0. He held up his largest mirror, angling it perfectly to capture the sisters in their full regalia, tin-foil crowns akimbo, ponchos rustling, faces contorted in righteous confusion. "That's the Cahoon mirror!" Sue shouted, pointing. "It shows crazy people." But a teenager in the crowd said slowly, "That's just you two in the reflection." Sarah gasped. "The mirror is lying. It's showing cuckoo people that look like us to frame us. Identity theft!" Whoosh! The concept of reflection sailed so far over their heads, it achieved geosynchronous orbit. Their tiaras spontaneously reformed into what appeared to be aluminum monuments to missing the point. Donkey Man, with theatrical sadness, began his monologue. "Behold, two souls so afraid of being judged that they've become the judges, so terrified of being laughed at that they've become the joke. They watch life through clay-caked windows, document existence without living it, achieve nothing while criticizing everything." He turned to them directly. "You've never seen snow, yet you judge the winter. You've never left your street, yet you know the world is wrong. You mistake theatre for madness, while living in a performance of paranoia you've written, directed and starred in for so long you've forgotten it's a show." The crowd was silent. Even the dogs stopped barking. It was profound, moving, truthful. The sisters waited exactly 3 seconds, then "Move!" The spell was broken. Everyone burst into laughter. Chapter 6, The Great Retreat and Delusion Declaration. "We're calling the FBI!" Sarah announced, pulling out her rotary phone she'd brought outside, attached to a very long cord. "This is clearly a midnight cult selling thoughts and stealing identities with lying mirrors." "Don't forget the intellectual dogs," Sue added, scribbling furiously. "Dogs shouldn't wear turtlenecks. It's unnatural, like education or vegetables that aren't beige." Officer Chen and Martinez pulled up, having lost the station rock, paper, scissors for who deals with the Woosh sisters this time. "Ladies," Officer Chen sighed, looking at the cheerful yard sale, the laughing crowd, the artistic mirrors, and the well-trained dogs. "It's a performance art yard sale. It's legal. It's actually quite clever." "Clever!" Sarah shrieked, her tiara reshaping into what looked like a tin-foil cry for help. "He's selling preconceptions at midnight while dogs dance!" Officer Martinez looked at Donkey Man. "Are you actually selling anything?" Donkey Man grinned. "Only perspective, officer, but these two have cornered the market on avoiding it." Whoosh! The joke didn't just fly over their heads, it performed an entire aerial show, complete with smoke trails spelling out, "You're the punchline." Chapter 7, The Documentary Evidence. As the crowd dispersed and the yard sale ended with nothing actually sold, but everyone somehow feeling like they'd gained something, the Woosh sisters retreated to their fair fortress. "We have it all documented," Sue declared, organizing their evidence. Hundreds of photos of mirrors reflecting mirrors, pages of notes about suspicious happiness, and a recording of their own horrific laugh that they believed was the crowd agreeing with us. "Indeed," Sarah agreed, adjusting her tiara, now shaped like a question mark that had given up on finding answers. "We've protected the neighborhood once again from joy?" Sue suggested, then shook her head. No, that can't be right. From theatrical expression? From cuckoo midnight mirror madness, Sarah declared triumphantly. They returned to their window, where they would spend the next 12 hours watching Donkey Man clean up his yard, walk his diva dogs, still in their intellectual costumes, and chat with neighbours about the successful event, all of which they interpreted as post-cult clean-up protocols. Chapter 8. The morning after the night before. The next morning, Donkey Man set up a new sign. Thanks for attending the midnight sale of misconceptions. Remember, the only thing for sale was what you brought with you. The Woosh sisters read it 17 times. He admits it, Sarah gasped. He was selling our thoughts, stealing them right from our heads. That's why my brain feels empty, Sue added, not recognising the irony that her brain had felt that way long before last night. Donkey Man, walking by with Ashy, Trashy and Classy, now in matching tutus that spelled out WOOSH, paused at their window. They were there, as always, watching, judging, misunderstanding. He held up his mirror one last time, reflecting their angry, confused faces back at them. Then he flipped it around. On the back, written in large letters, the real performance is the one you do for yourself every day. Whoosh! The tiaras achieved their final form, perfect aluminum representations of minds that had locked themselves so tightly against understanding that they'd become living sculptures of willful ignorance. The dogs barked. Not at the sisters, but for them, a mournful sound that said, "We tried to include you in the joke, but you've chosen to be it instead." Epilogue. The eternal midnight of the soul. That night, as the Woosh sisters documented their survival of the midnight thought theft incident, they heard laughter from the street. Someone was watching a video on their phone. It was them in their ponchos and tiaras producing their walrus gargle laugh while shouting about cuckoo mirrors. The video had already gotten 10,000 views. The title, When You Become Your Own Satire, a study in missing the point. We're famous, Sue gasped, completely misunderstanding. People are sharing our warning about the midnight cult. We're heroes, Sarah agreed, her tiara glinting in the light from their single paranoid lamp. Outside, Donkey Man sat with his 3 divas, looking at the Woosh house with genuine sadness. The tragedy, he told his dogs, is that they're so afraid of being fooled that they've fooled themselves into missing everything beautiful about being foolishly, wonderfully, vulnerably human. Ashy whined sympathetically. Trashy buried his head in his paws. Classy just stared at the window where 2 shadows moved behind clay-caked glass, forever watching, forever judging, forever missing the most obvious joke of all. That the only thing standing between them and happiness was their desperate need to be right about everyone else being wrong. But that truth? Whoosh! And somewhere in the distance, every dog in the neighbourhood howled at a moon that wasn't there, singing the saddest song of all, a lament for those who choose to live in cages they've built themselves, using tinfoil and fear as the bars. The moral. In a world where midnight yard sales sell nothing but perspective and dogs dress better than their critics, the real madness isn't in the performance. It's in the audience of 2 who've spent so long preparing for threats that don't exist. They've missed the life that does. The Woosh sisters remain proof that you can document everything and understand nothing, especially when your aluminum tiara reshapes itself with each missed opportunity to simply laugh, live, and let go of the claked window that separates you from the joy you're so desperately afraid might be contagious. After all, the only thing worse than being the joke is not knowing you're the one telling it. Every single day, at midnight and noon, in rain ponchos on clear nights, with a laugh that makes the cosmos itself cringe.
That's all, folks.